we're, we're gonna do the following. We're gonna create an extract. So these are the instructions for the information. So we're downloading this data. Um, File, download. I'm gonna keep it as an Excel. And then I'm going back to my assignment. It says, let's create a new project called exam prep. Right. So I'm gonna go in and create a new project called exam prep. Let's let's actually do another variation. Let's go back to the the properties of this. It's still loading. Okay. So let's go to the properties and, well, it's too late. Never mind. It's too late. I can't change the actual name. I wanted you to put your initials, but that's okay. You could just create a new project, I guess, if you really want to. Exam prep. Exam prep. And then your initials, right? Now we have this data, and what we want to do is go back to the instructions to say, create an extract of the lowest 100 sales transactions for your last name, Barra. So let's take a look at the data first, right? Let me go back to this data set, and here are the sales transactions. Do I actually have a sales total amount? Thank you, thank you. Is that Zorro? There you go. I'll be on the streets today. Now that's Richard Simmons, that's for sure. Okay, so we do have to make sure that if you have a sales total and all the information you need for this, right? You may have to go in. I'm not going to do it for this exam, but in the future, you may actually have to go in and connect data just like you did in Tableau, right? You had to calculate your sales revenue. You may have to calculate your payments, your disbursements, your expenses. So that's something that you got to analyze based on what information you're receiving. So in this case, if I look at this data, I do have a sales order number, an account number, sales data, blah, 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 blah. Let me look at the customers. I do have an account number for them. Payments received, I have a sales order number, so it matches the sales order number here. I do have inventory numbers in the unit costs. I have sales representatives. So this is what? A sales revenue cycle for accounting information systems, right? So I'm good, like that's good enough. So what do I need in order to extract the lowest 100 sales transactions based on sales revenue for your last name, or let's say for your last name, in this case, Barra, right? This case is going to be for Barra. So let's take a look at the sales once again. Do I have sales rep here? Yes, and you're going to find Barra in there, right? You want to find out the least 100 transactions or the smallest transactions. How do I do this? How many spreadsheets or how many sheets do I need from this spreadsheet? Let me start with Sylvia. She's on the left. Yeah, like what do I need? What do I need to import?
You need to import, obviously, the sales rep, total.
So, but all of that is in that one sheet, right? So I could do that. All right, so let's move that. First thing is we are gonna move what I just downloaded, and I may have to convert to a CSV. Let's find out. So what I just downloaded as the exam data practice 2, is that what I just downloaded right now? Or what is it called? Yeah. So this one, I am gonna move it. Where should I be moving it to? If you're using a portal, you go to your documents and my idea documents, right? Idea projects. This is the exam prep with the initials, right? Then I go to my source files library and I paste it there. Why do I want to make sure that I move my files from the beginning? Again, it's just a way to keep things clean. Which data file were you working with at the time you were doing the audit? You want to make sure that it's in one folder so that if you want to wrap up your audit and send it to someone, you are updating the whole thing. Like you contain the data that you work with, right? Otherwise, you're going to have a link to some document in your computer, and if you get rid of that computer or if you move anything around, then it's gone. It's no longer an audit that can sustain any type of treatment, right? So now that it's here, then I can go back to my idea import by pressing on the desktop. Are we going to be following, Jaime? I'd like you to follow.
So I just go to, the desktop,
Yes,
and I don't need to copy.
you got to import the file that you just downloaded. Did you download the file as an Excel?
Yes,
Okay, where is it? In which folder is it?
nested, that's in my folder.
Yeah, let's make sure you put on my idea documents, right? Where it's supposed to go, in the source files. And Fabian, that's under the Canvas, the new assignment, right? So you don't have to change anything on your data. So this is an Excel document. Let's see if it works. I double click on that. I got a bunch of questions like I'm not seeing the text, I'm not seeing the XML. You know, not only do you have to select the proper format, otherwise it filters everything else out. You also have to locate it here, and I can see it in my text. So it did not load properly. Did it not load for you guys either? Okay, so what do we do at that point? The next best thing. So what we gotta do, Jaime, is erase, like forget about Excel. We're gonna grab the sales sheet right here from your Google Sheets, and we're gonna download that as a CSV. CSV, right? Comma separated values. And obviously that's gonna come in as a CSV download into your documents. I'm sorry, into my downloads, and you wanna change that again by moving that into your documents, idea projects. And I'm going fast because you did this before, right? And I'm gonna place it here. That's just my sales spreadsheet, right?
How do you download it to the cells?
How do I move it?
Yeah, how do you download the cells?
Oh, so if you go back to the cells, let me go to File, Download, but then you go over. So just click Download, go into the menu, right? Make sure that's a CSV. Good question. It's a, CSV is a very typical file that you'll be working with in the future. Don't be afraid of it. It looks weird. It's annoying because it's just one file out of, you could have several sheets in one document, but now you're gonna have very specifics, right?
So I don't need to worry about the property now?
No, we skipped that. We gotta make sure you go back and download this data. Are you downloading this data? Yeah? And did you put it on the right folder?
Yes,
Oh, source file, perfect. Now let's import that. Cancel this. Go to desktop again. Now I gotta switch it. It's no longer an Excel file. It is a text file. Right. And then I'm gonna look for it, and it's gonna say cells. Should have brought my glasses today. Now this is a delimited file, right? Delimited means there's something that's limiting or delimiting one column from the next. So instead of being fixed length, where everything would be placed on the same column, or the same number of spaces, like the columns would be defined by the length of the space. This tends to be a little more efficient because then you say, don't waste space. That's wasted. the limited. Oh, you're getting the wrong one. Cancel and let's make sure you use the cells one. Make sure you're looking at the cells. That is just the front, right? So what I was shown was this. If you're looking at exam variables and you download it, that's just gonna download that sheet. CSV files are just one sheet, not the whole set of sheets within Excel. So you only get to download that one table, right? So select cells and then do the download again. Yeah. Yes. You gotta select the cell sheet. You gotta go to exactly the one you are trying to import. I'll give you guys a minute.
That works, that brings that sound set of the.
You could, yes. What did he fix with the Excel? Oh, you just imported it in, like, so it may not work if we have a different mark, just what happened with Access, right? You have to have the right, uh, Office converter, like the 3264, they have to match it. It's a little technical, so I rather you just do the CSV, unless it works.
Oh,
But that's time that you may lose in the exam waiting for it, right? Okay, let's import it, guys. Fabian. Yeah, what's up? Just download the cells. Yeah. Just go to file, download. You can go to the file and move it to that source file. Anybody else stuck? I wanna make sure everybody's with me. No excuse. How's it going, Brenda? Good, yeah? Can't find it? Oh, is this a Google, oh, you're inside, okay. I used to have a bunch of notes, like Google Chrome. Okay, so if you put it on, that depends on where you download it. Can we see, it looks to me as if you were using, can we go to the spreadsheet again? See that, it's not within a portal. So when you're downloading it to your desktop. So here's what we're gonna do. Go back to the portal. Now, see the cloud, so you're gonna upload it to this.
So I did.
Yes. Oh, okay, you already done it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so then now let's go and find out where it's at, which is, it's under desktop maybe, or document. Or you haven't opened
I
it,
put
right?
it in here and then I try to upload it and it won't come up. And so it's in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
And
All
then
right,
when I
now
try
let's
to-
go to idea.
Yeah.
So when you import, you gotta make sure that it's a text file.
Oh, okay. That's what I was doing now.
So now it's CSV, it's really a text. Import it? Who is not importing it yet? Okay. Your entire exam depends on your ability to import, right?
So, so the first thing you need to remember is, go to sales, and then download it on a CVS, and only do the text.
Yes. But it could be something different. It depends on what you need. In this case, it's very likely that I'm gonna give you a sales table, for sure.
That's
Right.
simple.
Yes, like a sales sheet, right? With information on all the sales that you provided, if I'm asking for revenue related questions.
So, and we only download it as CVS,
CSV,
CSV.
CSV.
So,
Almost like the pharmacy, but CSV.
so CSV.
Comma separated values,
And we have text.
and that is a text. That's right.
so why do you say we can't use Excel? What do you have to compare to?
Because there's a discrepancy in the software that we have, with the latest Excel, engine. So Excel and Microsoft Office has 32-bit and 64-bit engines, and they're not always like you may have a version of Excel that is different than what you have on the idea by default. There's also other things. If you ever created a pivot table, if there's scripts, stuff like that, it may just not let it load. So this is the cleanest way to actually import your data. It is delimited. We can go next, right? I'm gonna say that it's comma separated CSVs, comma separated values. And the first row is always meant to have the column names, right? As you did on the videos. And let's just take a look at the data real quick. Just a sample. It kind of looks all right. Nothing seems out of the ordinary, right? Then I go next. First row always contains, at least in my class and out there in the world, you should always say, make sure I put a column in there, a column name. Because when you're working with that, you want to make sure you know what you're working with, right? So again, if you leave it unclicked, it's going to create errors and you won't be able to finish the exam. You'll have to start from the beginning. So get this done very, like write it down, make clean, first row. CSV is easier. You still have to import Excel spreadsheets one at a time, right? The tables. So you might as well just do it this way. Okay. Now, sales order number right here is showing numeric. I don't like that to be numeric. I want it to be a character, right? This should be a character as well. What about sales date? What should that be? Jaime? What type of field? Date, right? What else should I put in here? Fabian, what is my date mask for this field? Why? It would absolutely be hyphen. If you don't put the hyphen in there, you're gonna get an error. Let me just show you, because that happens on the exams all the time. Look at what it says, unable to convert data, right? So the hyphen, it depends on the way you see the hyphen. It doesn't mean that it always looks this way, right? You gotta look at the way it looks here, recognize it, and then apply the mask so that the software can match the first character to a year, right? The first four are the year, and then ignore that hyphen and go on and go to the next one. That's what it means. It could be slashes. So if you had slashes, what would you do? Slashes, right? If you had no hyphens, then you would not put any hyphens in, right? What other what are other formats that we find? I guess that's it, right? Now this inventory number, it's a character. Quantity has to be numeric, right? Notice that this is a single integer, right? And so you don't have to use a float like this one. Unit price is not a character. What is it? Numeric. Let's be more specific. What kind? How many decimals? Two. Are they implied decimals? The biggest mistake. Are they implied decimals? What does it mean? What is the word implied? Implied, implicit. So it's understood because M is within, right? Within. Implied. It's like let's go and be normal and look it up in an actual dictionary, right? Because this is important. Implied definition. So implied suggests but not directly express. Implicit. So now let's look at implicit. Implicit. That comes from. How come I don't see my tomography? Okay. So yeah, here he is. implicare, right? Implicatus is all Latin, implicit. That means that it's implied. That means it's not actually said, but the meaning is within, entwined. It comes from the meaning within, right? Okay, now that we understand the word, we can go back to what it means to have implied decimals. It means that they're not giving you the decimals, but they're implied, right? You may want to use that. This is pretty old stuff. Some, you know, some software, some software out there like COBOL uses text files, and they don't put periods in there. It's a waste of time, right? But they may have implied decimals. Like this number, 572, could be 57,200. And then it would say it has implied decimals, two implied decimals. So, like, people don't have to type them up, period. It just automatically puts the decimal two spaces to the left, right? So, what I mean to say is, we have a very explicit period that's been given to us. And we have not been told that the decimal is implied, right? 572 is equal to 572, so this is not an implied decimal. You can see it. And 572 means 572. If you don't put the decimals to 2, you're going to lose the sense. You're going to have errors on the exam, and guess what? Tough love. But anywhere else, right? Okay, so then let's go next. Sales rep. So sales rep should be, what about customer city, Rianda? What should it be? Customer city. What type of field is this? Character, right? And sales total, right? I mean, sorry. That's Riley, I'm sorry. Not the first time I switched names, you know. Huh? Numeric, of course. And do we have decimals here? How many? So we got to put it in there, right? Otherwise, it drops the decimals. And do we have implied decimals? No, right? Okay. I think we're done. Woohoo. Anything that we want to import, like we could actually create another field name right here. I don't like them at the spot. Um, you could also filter, like only give me those that are from this date to that date right here. But it's difficult because you actually have to, know that information ahead of time. So you could apply filters before you import, just so that you know. Why is this important? Well, you may have a field, I'm sorry, not a field, an actual file with more than 5,000 records. The educational version only gives you 5,000 records to import. So if I'm asking, just import those that are for this month, and there's like 20,000 on the file and 500 for this month, this would be the way you do it, right? Now, in reality, this software is sold with quite a bit of extent, quite a bit of uh, quite a bit of a capacity to handle records. So, but even then, you may have millions that are going to be hard to process. And I don't know what the actual natural limit for the commercial version is, but this is a great way to limit that. Okay, one thing that I always like to do is generate the field statistics because I'm going to use them anyway, right? So that's it. Now the database name, I'm going to use just sales, and then I'm going to put my initials because I'm annoying. I'm going to mark your stuff. That's it.
Yeah, I was doing the Excel
Yeah.
importing. It doesn't give me like
All the
all the
yeah. Okay. Let's see which ones. It's already been defined by Excel, so press
Yeah.
OK, and you can always modify it.
Oh, okay.
Now look at the date. If you imported this with Excel, right, then it's not going to give you those options. Like you actually have to let the definitions that were defined in Excel be carried over. You could open Excel and make sure you force like characters when you want to. You can always go in. Let me just to give you an example, right? Like, so let's say that I wanted to bring this as an Excel file. Then I could just make sure that this was formatted as, where's my formatting? Here we go. Can't see backwards. Okay, here we go. Here I would force the text, right? This is a text. Cell state, I would want to make sure that this is actually a date. Um, and so I would make sure that that's always it. So if you do that here, then it will import it automatically on that place. Okay. Um, same thing with access and all that, right? So if you predefine it, it kind of imports the definitions that you've already created. Remember that Excel really handles data in an XML format, and then it has a definition, a cascading style sheet that applies pretty much like XBRL uses financial reporting. Excel does the same thing. Access does the same thing, right? So now you have XML files that can be opened across different software. Okay, so what's the first question, guys? I'm gonna go to Philip from this. The first question is, create an extract of the lowest 100 sales transactions based on sales revenue for your last name, right? Create an extract of the lowest 100 sales transactions for the lowest, okay. Now I have a bunch of data, right? I can sort it. Let me make sure I bring the control total real quick. Always do a control total. The appropriate control total will be the one that sums it all, the sales total, right? Okay, so how do I come up with the lowest transactions? Anybody?
Criteria.
I mean, I could do a criteria, right, and say, you could do a direct extract, not as efficient. But you got to start. Okay, so there's two things. So you do have to get an extract of some sort, and instead of going to a direct extract, I would like to get top records. Wait a minute, but it's lower, like the bottom records. Yeah, but top records, all it does is it sorts the amounts by a given field. It sorts the table by a particular field. In this case, let's use sales total, right? So if I take the top ones, now they're the bottom ones, right? And if I flip it around in descending order, then now I can see the top records, right? So all that it's doing, this extract is giving you the top records for that table following a particular sorting order. Your order is changed based on whatever you want it to say. Now, here's another problem though. You also have to filter stuff. You can't say, let me do this and then filter. You gotta do it all at once, right? Or you may have to index it. So let's go ahead and look at the top records for me. How many records do I want? Ooh, I gotta get rid of those. I gotta get rid of those indexes. No index. So I gotta go back to my no index. Top records. I do want 100 top records. I went to analysis, top records. Yeah, thank you for asking. Let me do it again real quick. So I went first to analysis. I made sure that there was no index on my data. No index, right? You see that this is no index. Or you may not have any of this. But if you sorted any data, make sure you unsort it. Okay. And then I go to top records.
what?
The one that says no index. Perfect. Now you can go back to top records. Great, perfect. Okay, so that's the number of records, right? 100. Am I getting the top records? Bottom records. Even though it says top records, I can choose bottom records, right? Bottom records for what? Based on what? On alphabetical order? It did say sales rep. Should I put sales rep here? Top records from sales record. Like, what field am I going to put bottom records for? It's based on the sales total. This is asking, what do you want to sort? You want to sort it based on your sales total, right? So what about the sales rep? That's just a filter. So I'm getting the top or bottom records based on an amount. What amount specifically? The sales total. And then I'm going to have a criteria here that says my sales rep is equal to, I like to use the quotes here because I always get messed up with the quotes. And it's para, right? Minus. In this case, it's minus. So now I'm applying a filter equal to para. There you go. Is this a little better? I just gotta hide this. Jesus. Okay, here we go. Sales rep para, right? You see that? Yeah, so we're doing a filter by sales para. That's just the query. At the same time, we're saying sort them up and only give me the top bottom record. So it basically does this. It's only gonna give me the records for para that are with the lowest sales. Let's press OK. Oh, I didn't change the name of it. Ooh, okay, it's fine. It's bottom records. I may ask you specifically to change the name to a specific name, like with your last name and all that, right? Okay, so this is it. Look at this statistic right here. That's how I know. Let's take a look at the sales rep. Obviously, they're all para, so I know that I filter them correctly, right? And they're in kind of descending order, so that makes sense. It did it, right? And there's 100 of them, 100 transactions. Let me go down. There's 100 records. I have a control total. So notice that if I started my control total from the beginning, I can use a control total at the end, and I don't have to keep doing it over and over and over. Why is this important? That's how I grade you, right? Because I'm giving you specific numbers that are only applicable to you individually. When you import them, then that's how I grade you. I look at the control total and say, did it match? That the sum of all of these transactions matches the numbers for them. Number one. This is also the way you would reconcile with your financial statements or your bank statements, right? How many debits? All of those. How many credits? All of those. And then you can go to control total and see, okay, that matches. right? I'm done with the reconciliation process. Okay, so now that I have that, then we're done. So what is it that I want to give the professor? It's very likely that I'm going to ask you for a screenshot, but more importantly, very importantly, I'm going to ask for your history. And the history, as you saw at the very end of the assignment, and this is super important, guys. How did I get to the history, everybody? I want you to raise your hand if you know how to get to your history. 1, 2. For sure, Bianca? Yes? Anna? Yes? Come back, come back. Yes? All right. Now, I see the history right here. This is what I'm going to ask, right? I want you to actually expand it so that I can see it. If you don't expand it, then I don't see the history. So there's no way to grade you, right? Because this takes every step. This says you imported the data file. Where did it come from? If you're using a port, it will show your login, right? If you're using your computer, it will do the same thing. Where was it sitting at? What definition file did you use? Notice that you created a new one. You create a brand new one. And look at what's happening here. There's an idea script code that's being created. So it's saving this procedure so that in the next time if you want to use it, you can use it, right? You're like, what, I can use it for my exam? Yeah, you technically could. But I'm not teaching you that until next week, right? So everybody could be using, oh my God, he's gonna use the same file, right? I just gotta change the parameters. Think about it, right? Change the data, change the parameters, and that's it. You can do that with IDEA, right? And that's the beauty of IDEA. You can store the procedure in that script code. And then, sure enough, look at what happened. First, the database was indexed. Index means sorted, right? Based on what? On the sales total. In which order? Ascending, meaning the lowest on top, the highest on the bottom, right? What specifically was indexed? Well, the sales FP IMD database, right? So that's what it means. And then I sorted it out in descending order. Remember, I went up, down. Then I got rid of it. Went to my control total to create the control total, right? Then I did a top records extraction, so it records everything that was done, everything. And then it tells me that I selected a sales total index in ascending order from bottom to top, and all of this. And it tells me how much was my extraction at the very end. Where is it? Where's my control total here, guys? Right here. Bottom records extraction. So this matches what I see over here on the right. That's idea to you. So anybody can see what the auditor performed. And if you see an error, you're like, oh, I can see how they thought we were not in compliance or that these were the numbers when in fact they made a mistake, right? So this has to be exported for exam purposes and for this assignment into a PDF. And then in this case would be like question 1, FD, right? Question 1, FD, or whatever the instructions are. In this case, it says nothing. So just do UQ1. Yeah? Are we okay with that? Are we feel comfortable with those extractions? So when would I use top records? When I want to see, when I just want to sort something and get the top or the bottom. It's very typical. There's a lot of risk with those transactions that are very high in numbers, right? As you know, a normal distribution, you got the extremes. And typically with those extremes, there comes risks because we're not used to that normality, right? So we can look to see if the revenue is being originated from just a few customers. If 90% of our sales are coming from one customer, then we may have a risk, right? What if they just say, we don't want your business tomorrow? Then we're done, right? So these are the kind of things that we'll do as an auditor is go in and perform like the lower bandwidth, the higher bandwidth, et cetera, right? And so this is a really great tool because you just do it. You could do it in Excel pretty quickly, right? The problem is with Excel, you don't have a record of what you did. So how do I trust that you grab the data and you only selected the top records without making any modifications to our spreadsheet. This says I grabbed the spreadsheet, imported it the way you gave it to me, right? And I follow this procedure. You can replicate it. In fact, I recorded a script that you can just use. Okay, let's go to number 2. Let's create an extract of the top 100 sales transactions based on sales revenue for the year 2017. Jaime, question. Okay, let me cancel it. Go ahead and export. Probably try to save it. So go to export again. Type Q1. Save it. This is a brand new. No, it has. So this is a brand new project you created, right? You didn't know the previous. Very interesting. Well, let's just export it as a text file then. Let me make sure.
So PDF is good,
Yeah, yes.
so you do that, you import it text now?
Yeah, you could export it as a text. So if something goes wrong with PDF, I can take the text file as well. Right? All right, create an extract. Now let's do that. I'll give you a point, whoever does it first. Create an extract of the top 100 sales transactions. Okay, Jaime, let's do it. Extract of the top 100 transactions for the year 2017. Who's stuck? Who's like, oh, I don't know how to do this? Raise your hand. Yeah, no. What happened to your exam? We'll talk later.
It's on. When I import it,
Yeah?
it only takes it doesn't take the very last, transaction.
Why
On
not?
A51, oh, like, it says it only takes 5,000 records, like, at 499, I'm missing like this all.
Because you create say that there was a first row.
Oh, so there's,
Where again, where's import with? Go ahead just to see if we go.
okay.
But there should be a record, I'll try it next, but there should be a record that says, it should come up with your table names. One thing to do with Excel, if you download it in Excel, is to actually go and define the data. It's the same thing, right? You still, like I would create a table, make sure you have the data fields and delete everything else. CSV is the cleanest way to import it.
You have to put 2017 in quotes for the equation.
Um, depends. It depends on your formula. So if you're saying depends, what are you saying?
Sales date equals 2017.
No, sales date is not equal to 2017, right? You could say it's on or after this date and before or equal to this date, right? That's a way to do a range. You could also use a year formula. Say year of the sales date is equal to 2017. But you cannot say sales date is equal to 2017, right? Right, Jaime? Yeah? Are you getting it done? Who's still stuck, like not knowing how to get there? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and. Who's already done? Perfect. What's the number? So 235 million, some change. Big numbers on this database, right? Anybody else? Really? Where you at? The formula. Okay. All right. Yeah, not that easy, right? Okay. Top records for what? Sales total. I can do a formula. I'm gonna say 2017 top sales. FD. That's where I put the title of the file that I want to create. And here are my criteria. So I'm gonna do a couple of them. My preferred one is I know formulas that replicate from Excel, Access, Tableau, everywhere else. Same formulas, guys. So if I want the year formula, I start with sales date. The formulas come with an at sign here, right? So I can do the year. So the year, open parentheses. Notice that there's an at sign in there. At year. So any other formula can be done like this, and you can see if you wanted to do a between date, between time. All of these is blank, minutes, no match, payment, PMT. Remember those? All the Excel files, all the Excel formulas pretty much are usable here, almost all of them, right? So I want the year of my sales date equal to what? And now this is a good question. 2017. And I can validate it, and it will tell me if it's valid. I did not use quotes. What else could I have done? I could have said year, sales date. My sales date is greater than or equal to, and then I got to do the date format, which is annoying because this is the way it's supposed to work here in IDEA, 2017-0101, right? And I may have to actually use quotes. And again, sales underscore date, right, is less than or equal to 2017-12/31, right? Let me validate it. This match field type. Ooh. Sales. I don't remember. I didn't do the exercise yesterday. Who did? Huh? I may need quotes. Valid equation. So that is, oh yeah. So I can do that as well. Thank you for bringing that up. So I can just simply grab here and say, let me grab this date, and it does it for me, right? In this case, I really want 2017. So that's another option, right? Just go to the calendar so that it can plug the dates, and it used the quotes. So that's how I knew. That's how I remember. Because some software uses quotes, some others. So that's how you know, right? This uses all the time, then you'll start remembering. Which one do you like the most? Notice that the and has periods in it. Real quick, guys, let me zoom in to this formula. This has periods in between the ands. Yes? So use the and or the or from here because it does have special formatting. So try to use the tools as much as possible, right? If you just type and, it's not gonna work. You gotta have the periods in there. You see that, everybody? I know you were working on something over there. I like this. It's simple. Less mistakes for me. I can handle a formula, right? Who does it? So I can validate. Now I have my criteria. These are my top 2017 cells. Top 100. Press OK. Ooh, what did I do wrong, guys? What did I do wrong? I did not do this on purpose, but I'm glad I did it. What did I do wrong? Why do I only have 26? I'm in the wrong database, guys. You see that, Jaime?
You see, you're supposed to do it from the cells, not from the second tab.
Absolutely. See, what I did now is I did a subsequent filter, right? First, I got the bottom records on this one, right? The bottom records extraction that belong to Parra. And then I said, by the way, now give me the highest ones that were from 2017 from the subset of 100. See, and that is very easily explained here as a sub query. That was not my intention, right? So what I need to do is correct it by going all the way here. I can delete this actually. I can just say, oh, that's not what I meant. Right, I can delete it. First have to close it, and it's very hard for me to navigate when I'm looking at it. So I can delete that and say, oh, I made a mistake. Let me go back to my cells, right? Back to the original source and do the whole thing again. And yes, we were going to look at top 100 records. Crash. Oh, no, wait, guys, we better hurry. By the way, if you try opening IDEA more than once, it'll go crazy. Okay, cells, analysis, top records, grid, top records 4, so total. Then I already know this, right? Ooh, don't remember. So a year, sales date is equal to 27. I call this top 100. Go. Here it's my control total, 235,671. Huh? Oh.
Go to history.
Why is it that they're not Parra? Was it not asking for Parra? No, it says create an extract of the top 100 sales transactions. Everyone's, right? If I had asked for Parra, I would have asked for Parra as well. I could ask for a bunch of filters in the exam, right? Just be ready for that, right? Next, create a random selection of 50 sales transactions. Use the number seed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how do we do a random selection? We go back to the cells, right? Because we want to make the random selection from the cells. And I gotta hurry. Randomization. How many do we want? 50. 50. Sales transaction using the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? I'm gonna call it 50 random sample. Yeah? That's easy, right? So just be careful. Here on the random sample, what you need to know is what the sample size is. Where are you grabbing the sample from? In this case, the cells, right? And what is like this? Are you selecting it from all the records? Because you could say, only give me a sample size from the top 100 records, right? You're grabbing a sample size from the entire universe. and then the random number seed. What is this, guys? So let me explain in 30 seconds. Random algorithms have some kind of mathematical application. It says, I could say, well, let me do some type of equation by grabbing the record ID, multiplying by 100, then dividing by 3, blah, blah, and then give me a number, and then I will sort them based on, the top numbers that come up with that, right? That's it. Now, there's algorithms out there that create really cool random selections. They've been proven by computer science people. However, one of the things that we need as auditors is the ability to replicate how these random samples were selected. And by having this random number seed, I should be able to replicate your random selection at any time. Does that make sense? So I should be able to replicate it if I give it to you. So if you tell me I use random number seed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I should be able to grab the same data set and ask for the random sample with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and come up with the same set of transactions. Still at random, but they're kind of they're directed, if you will, because they can be replicable, right? All right. So let's press it. That's it. Did you come up with 49 million with some change? That's easy, right? What if I wanted to use a random sample of only para transactions? What would you have to do? Let me see if that's next. Huh? If I would just wanted a random sample of para transactions, then I have to go and get a direct extract first, right? And this would be paras. What's my criteria? Sales rep. Sales rep is equal to para, right? So first I come up with, I have to filter all the paras into one subset, and then I can create, right? I only have 498. Then from there I can do a random selection. Does that make sense? So what if you wanted a random sample of a subset? You first create the subset and then you do the random sample, right? Otherwise, you would be doing a random sample and then filtering out those that happen to land on para. That's not what we want. We want a random selection from the para extract. So you first do the direct extract, you filter stuff. If I say from 2017, you first do the filtering, direct extract. Let's say that this asks for also for only 2017. Let me go back. Yeah? Yes. Yes. Make sure that your formula is the same as mine, right? Did you come up with 498 records when you press yes? Or did it give you an error? Perfect. Okay, so then if you have 498, the way you can see if we got the same is this number. That's where you control total is important, right? Question.
So you created the photo one again for, are we still on the random part?
Yeah, I'm doing a random part, but now I just threw a curveball. What if I were to ask you now do a random sample of just barras? So now that I just have all the barras, then I can do a random sample, right? Of um, of just barras the same way, like the 50 with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're doing a random barra. So this 50 barra random.
Did you create the photo one using the top records?
No, direct extract. So when you're filtering stuff, use direct. Top records is only when you're grabbing the top or the bottom side of something, right? Most other extras are gonna be direct. Why is that, guys? Why? Direct is just a query. I know we didn't do access in our class, and I should have done access with you guys, but most people get really bored with access and feel like it's wasting a lot of your time, right? So we can do queries here as well. What are we querying? We're extracting from the universe all of those transactions that belong to Barra, right? And then I can do a random sample from that. So let me know if you got to the 51,569, right? Okay. I'd like you to go to the original random selection, the 50 random. And this is important, guys. The next question here says, provide the balance due on these transactions. What? Provide the balance due on these transactions. Got 30 minutes. How do I know if something's paid? And what is due? I know what invoice is paid. Like this is gonna break one of these days. You're gonna see me on the floor. So if I look at the sales transactions, right? I don't know how much of this is owed. What has been paid out of this invoice? Somebody, guys, it can't be the whole class is empty, it's silent. Somebody has to know. How do I find out? If not, then we can go back to chapters 1, 2, and 3. How do we know if something's paid? Let me be more specific. How do I know that a sell was paid? You have payments received, so what do you need to do with that? Cross-reference using which key? It could be account number, but then that would just give us the clients overall, right? We want to be more specific and more granular. And by doing so, that means I want to reference the exact invoice or the sales order number. And you can see that the sales has a sales order number here, right? So then that should be referenced over here on the side. So it looks to me like we're going to be using which table now to do this next operation. So let's go ahead and import it. In the exam, I'm going to ask you to import like specifically all of things first, and then we'll start playing with the data or analyzing stuff later. So again, how do we do imports? We go to desktop. Oh, I haven't even downloaded this. So payments received, right? Download CSV. And then I'm going to do the customers as well. I think we need to do the customers. Yeah. Customers and your payments received. What? Okay, now that I have payments received and customers here on my downloads, I can control X them and put them into my sort files library for the exam prep. Boom. So now I'm gonna go to text, click, payments received, open, next, limited. All right, before I go anywhere else, and Remy, if you don't select the first row contains a field name on this type, then it's gonna cut off your data by at least one record, and it will throw your exam off, right? I imported the data. Yeah, you remember how? desktop import and locate the file that you want to import. We want to import the payments received.
So, go ahead and do both of them.
Yeah, let's just do the payments received for now. And then we're gonna make sure that the first row contains a visible record. It is a CSV, that means delimited, right? So all the things you already know. I don't want to repeat them. This has to be a character field as well. Let me go back then because I'm going a little fast. Let me cancel. So I did the desktop. Did you move the file into your source library? Okay, so then you are selecting a text field. You're double clicking on this. I'm looking at payments received, right? Got it. Next, next. I am gonna say that my first row is
And you don't need to do anything for anything for that?
not, it's just delimited. Yes, we selected delimited. That was important.
Not make sure any of the,
And then I went next. First visible row, we make sure that we use the quotes, right? Then next, we gotta fix the field names.
that wasn't done. So, was I need to do anything?
Yeah, you're not following, Fabian.
Connect,
You're not following. Why not?
implement?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna record this and release it for those of you that if I lose you because it's kind of important to get over all of them, right? So next, this is character. We're not adding up order numbers to come up with something. An order number is just an index, and that should be character all the time. But if, this should also be character. This should be character, right? What else should be character? This is a date. Again, now this date comes in this format using the mask. It's easier when you practice by doing, even if you fall behind a little. And then this has two numeric decimals, obviously not implied. Maybe I should even mention it, but it comes. People make those mistakes all the time. I get grumpy when I see implied decimals. Um, it's done. It's done. Let's generate the field statistics and finish. Right? Let me make sure I rename this to be. Oh, let me close it. Let me rename it to say payments. All right. Payments received. The exam's not gonna be a take-home exam. It's not. You guys were lucky. Would you have gotten 100 on those exams if you had been in person, you think? Why not? Because you didn't rely on other people, or you didn't rely on your own notes, or what was the formula to get 100? More time? Okay. So did you guys take more than 2 hours to do both exams? Do you feel like you can handle Tableau now? Yeah? So if somebody asks you in an interview, hey, do you know how to use Tableau? What are you going to say? We had one project. Yeah, I can do dashboards and all, like done storylines. I can use aggregations, like your graphics. Like you can say what you've done, right? And if you know it's going to be asked, then you do a couple more. There's plenty of data sets out there, right? You go back and do the assignment that I gave. In fact, I gave you even more options until December. What was the end date? August of 2023. You can go back. There's a Tableau section you can go practice with. Really, you got the tools. You're paying for the software for just a year, right? So might as well use it. What about QuickBooks? You feel better now with QuickBooks? Kind of? Yeah? Marcos is laughing like, you're about to find out. Well, we're going to find out. I'm going to be working with you, right? So it's tedious, guys. We got to get this project done. I may have to drop one of the assignments at the end. just to get our QuickBooks done. Because we're running out of time, and I'm still running out of time with the service learning project. I want to give you too much, but it's for you guys. Then that's it. I only have you for one semester. Who would do a follow-up class with more advanced stuff? Maybe 2 people, 3 people. You're like, this is enough. Yeah? Probably be easier. Get all online. Let you sleep in. Okay. Okay, I will create a follow-up class. That's good. All right, come on, guys. Let's find out those transactions that we randomly selected. So we got to go to the 50 random selections, right? We want to find out if they got paid. So first and foremost, I got to look at a Venn diagram. And on the Venn diagram, I am going to find out which, on one side, invoices or sales, and on the other side, I have payments. And I'm going to select all of the cells. In this case, the randomly selected cells, which are the 50 right here, right? So let me close all this. And let me go into selecting the 50 random. Then I go to analysis join, right? And do a join statement. First, I'm going to select my 50 random cells, right? No other criteria, just the way they come. The 50 random cells, right? That means that was the one that we selected 50 from the cells. Not the ones that were barras, right? But the very top ones.
Go there?
Huh?
Go there?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Go there?
All right, so when I was selecting the 50 random cells first, and then I went to join to relate those two transactions. We're gonna join them, and then we're gonna analyze them, right? So what is a secondary database again? Which one, guys? Come on. Payments received. Absolutely, that's gonna be our secondary. And here's where you can see a little Venn diagram, right? Matches only would only give me those that have a payment. That's not what I want, right? This will give me records on both files. And when I hover it, it should give me a little, I guess it doesn't anymore. Oh yeah, the Venn diagrams, right? Then I'll get all of them. All records in primary file. Records with no secondary match would be records with no payments. That's great, but what if there was a partial payment? Then I would be missing that. Records with no primary match, meaning payments with no invoices, right? Can we describe this? Matches only would be invoices with payments. Records with no secondary match would be what? Fabian. Records with no secondary match. The secondary match is a payment. So records, meaning the sales with no secondary match, with no payments received. Right? What does this say? Records with no primary match. What does that mean? Timely. So we have records, payments received, that have no primary match with no sales.
So then, I don't have to be recorded?
Correct. But so that's not what we want. We want all the records in the primary file. See, that's what we want to do is, let me see if the Venn diagram comes out. You see the yellow circle? Those are all the cells, right? And I also want to include the ones that have payments, which are the red. And I'm excluding all the payments that have no cells. Right? Because remember, we have a bunch of payments on that table. We don't care about the payments that went for any other type of transaction. I am just focused on those that belong to the primary file, which happened to be the random sample. Does this make sense? Because I see you guys somewhere else, and I know it's late. Okay. I gotta have a matching. Match. So how do I select the matches? Let's match them. I'm gonna use sales order number with payment ID with what? Sales order number, yeah. Made it super easy, right? They're both named the same, right? You're starting to get a hold of joins. All right. What are we gonna call this? We're gonna call this 50 random balance. We gotta call it 50 random balance. Okay, so now we have this record, right, of all the 50 transactions with the payment information for some of them on the side. Some of them have zero, some of them have less. Notice the payment. Notice that some of them are bigger, like this. 1649.60, 1312. Yeah? See your mistake? Cancel out of that. There's a function that you activate. I don't know how to reverse it, so you may have to. We'll do it after class. Are you coming to see me with Erica after class? Then can you coordinate with Erica to see what time you can see me? It can be tomorrow if you want. Yeah. Well, that depends on Erica, so connect with her. We'll do it after class. Yes? So you and I can meet for this purpose, yes. All right, guys. Any questions on this? Yes. Oh, that means you didn't do it properly, right? So when you imported, you had a numeric field. So what you got to go back and do is go back to your payments received. Let me fix that very quickly. So we have an issue where you cannot match. They're not the same type of field. So if this sales order number you have here, right, is a numeric field and you won't match. So what we can do is go into data and do the modify. I can modify the type here. If it says numeric, I can make it character, right? This can happen to you. So it's a good question that came up today. Ten minutes, guys. 10 minutes. We got to do this. Control. So now we have the information of the cells and the payments on the same line. So how much is the balance on each transaction? How do I know? I gotta append the field names. I'm gonna create one that says balance to, right? It's gonna be a virtual numeric number with 2 decimals, right? And I'm gonna define it to be, you guys, sales total minus, I think it was, let's go find out. Payment amount, right? Payment amount. You see what I mean? Payment amount. Validated, balance due. So now I have those that have a balance due on the right side. I could, if I want my professor to see what I did, I can do my control total switch this to be the balance due, right? I don't want the total. I want the balance due, right? So that I can verify if you have the right balance due. Right? Now, we could also look at, these are paid, right? These are paid. The rest have a balance. So if I want to extract those numbers that have a balance to, then I could do a direct extract from here to say, give me those invoices, cells with balances. And the criteria would be balance to is not equal to or is greater than 0. Yeah? Let's go in. Let's go fix it. Let's go validate it. Yeah, balance was greater than 0. Yeah?
What's this for?
Just to make sure that I have in my data set those that are unpaid. So now I have exactly 39 transactions out of those 50 that have a balance. That's it. And the next part of the question that I asked was provide an aging report by years of these transactions, right? We have 10 minutes, guys, right? You're gonna have to number 5 on your own. I'll try to get to number 4 as well. All right, so provide an aging report on a yearly basis as of 1/1/2019. So let's pretend that we're on January 2019. How do we do a report? Then you go back and say, let's do an aging report. While looking at this database, right, I can now look at an aging report. Notice that I first extracted those that had a balance and got rid of everything that was paid. Aging date is going to be 2019 01/01. No criteria, all of them. Agent field to use would be sales date. Amount field to total would be what? Balance too, because I'm doing an aging report of my balances, right? That makes sense? And I'm gonna do it in years, not months, according to the request. And that's it. And I can generate a detailed aging that says aging FD, right? Then, any questions on this? Sales date, balance 2 years, no criteria. I could have applied the criteria here of less than, only those that have more than 0. And this is what I'm looking for. I may ask you a question like, if only 2018 only accounts receivables that are due in the past year are valid, what is the true value of our AR account here? Year 1. Everything else, all of these here should have been written off. Accounts receivable worth anything after 2 years or after the year, according to our policy, right? And I think that's pretty much GAAP. Unless, of course, there's exceptions, but let's just keep it simple. All right? So our AR should not be 18 point something million, it should just be 13.495. I will ask you something like this, right?
Can you look at I don't understand what it's been doing in some sense.
Can you try to grab this? That's exactly the same thing that happened to Jaime, and I don't know exactly how to fix that. The tininess. So let me get back with you guys if that's the. All right, any questions on this, guys? Was that hard? Are you ready to do this? Do you feel confident doing this type of work? Yeah? We're just clarifying based on your assignment, right? I know it feels a little rushed.
So the question, the test will be similar to.
Very similar. So it's like a mini exam, right? I'm just trying to make sure that you're. Create a summary of the sales and payments by customer ID. Determine if any of these customers have exceeded their credit line. We got 5 minutes to do this, right? So we need to do a summary of the payments and the summary of, right? Summary of the sales. We will use summarization tool as well. We will use a lot. So here's what we're gonna do. First, we go to sales, and we're gonna summarize. Let me get rid of the 50, 50. I gotta open the cells. Then I'm gonna summarize. Not by sales order. We're gonna do it by account number. Because this is based on the credit limit is not at the transaction level, it's at the customer's level, right? So I wanna just know how much was sold to them. And this is gonna be sales summary, right? I could have an actual filter here that says only 2017, right? Let's keep it simple for now. Sales total, that would be my sales summary. Now I want to have a payment summary. Yeah? Doing the same thing with the summarization of your payments. Not by payment ID, right? That would just give me a bunch of records, the same database, basically. I want to do it by account number again, and I'm going to summarize the payment amount. And I'm going to call it payment summary. Not summary, but summary, right? Yes, I'm still recording, I think. I hope. All right. So I am summarizing both. Now I want to know what the credit limit is. So I do have to import the customers. So let me now go in here and look at my home, import my desktop, and I'm gonna import my customers information. All right. So first and foremost, I'm gonna do the sales summary, and I'm gonna join it with the payment summary based on. I'm gonna join the sales summary, right? Virginia. Sales summary with my payment summary. I'm gonna match it using my account number. Perfect. And I want to get all of myself, so I'm going to get all the records on primary, and I'm going to call this sales by account. Right? I'm going to press OK. And now I have my sales minus their payments by account. So now I can do a balance by appending a field called account balance, virtual numeric 2. And how are we going to define this? We're going to say that it is the sales total sum minus the payment total sum, right? And now I have created a new account balance for the client. Good? So how do I know if they went above their credit limit? The credit limit is on the customer's table. Where is that? This one right here. I'm gonna rename it to say customers. Let's open it. See, credit limit is in there, right? So if I want to know if this amount here exceeds this, then I first have to join them, right? So first what I'll have to do is, in this case, sales by account. This is their summary, right? Then I have to do another join with the customers table. I'm gonna match their account number again, right? And I'm gonna get everything from my primary file because I'm interested in what has already happened, not necessarily every. I could have gotten both, but I'm just interested from those, from the activity that actually occurred. What's 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 happening, right? And so let's just go ahead and grab it, press OK, and I don't know what I called it. This one. I call this account summary balance, right? Oh, it's in use. I got. I should have renamed this within. So I'm gonna call this um, balance and credit summary, right? Now here's what we got. We have payment amount, account balance. Is that the one I have, guys? I'm not looking there. All right. I need to know what the customer information. Okay. So I do have the credit limit and the account balance. So what I need to know is if this account balance is bigger than the credit limit, right? So now I got to do another field in here in the data, a pen that says credit balance, your credit balance, available credit. Let me just call it available credit. Available credit. That's a little more clear. And that would be starting with your customer credit limit, right? What's your available credit, guys? Credit limit minus your balance. That will give you your available credit, right? Let me validate this, press OK. And now I have my available credit. Some of them are negative. So if I wanted to know those that were above their credit limit, will be those whose available credit is negative. Is that true? Look at this too.
This is assuming no payments have been made.
No, this is already accounting for the payments because we did a summary of all the payments, summary of all the sales. Then we found out what the balance was per account. Then we compare that with the credit limit. And the difference was the available credit line they had. Now notice some of these have no records. What does that mean, guys? Why do we have empty records here? Huh? No, there's a balance right there. Look, their credit, their available credit is negative. No credit limit to begin with, but then they were sold stuff. We're not authorized. They went through a credit limit. They went through a sell on credit, and we don't even have them on our customer statement. They have no credit line whatsoever. It says it right there, zero. Right? Let me go back. And there's quite a bit of those. See, no credit line, and they still owe money. Like this guy has an O. Oh yeah, negative. They went over. Their available credit line is negative, right? So these people didn't have an actual credit line. They were sold stuff on credit. So there's obviously an issue with our internal controls. We're gonna talk about them next week. Internal controls and how they influence the way we ensure that our financial statements are properly stated, right? Because this is obviously a high risk. This AR right there might not even be valid. That's a big finding right there. You don't have internal procedures to control how much money you're extending on credit. I could say, well, give me those that have a zero, right? Give me those that have zero. And I could do a criteria. I mean, I could go on and on and on, right? I could ask questions like, well, give me how many of those are in there? And what's the amount of AR that's coming from not authorized customers? That shouldn't be in your AR. Technically speaking, you should be writing it off. So that's basically the exam for Monday, for Wednesday. Do you feel comfortable for Wednesday?
Is it recorded?
It is recorded. Do we feel good for Wednesday?
Is the prep due tonight?
The prep is due tonight, yes.
So I can email,
Or do you want to do this again on Wednesday? Or should I give you, if I say a free day, you're not going to do it. I know you guys.
Should we make the prep due on
We can definitely make the prep due on Tuesday, but it's 1:52, so let me stop the video real quick.